Mystic Bob Sima. Thank you. It's beautiful. Bob is on tour from Annapolis, Maryland, and he's here on special assignment to open our hearts through music, through his original music and others. He'll be in concert tonight at Eddie's Attic in a covered, enclosed building, so you may want to... He won't be exposed to the rain like the rest of us today. He'll be at Eddie's Attic in Decatur, starting at 6 o'clock tonight, a special concert. And he has wonderful CDs.
The ceiling won't be open, it will be closed.
No, the ceiling will be closed.
Really
and we'll be there.
Here, huh?
Annette and I will be there with some other people.
It's going to be one of those days.
Yeah. Intermittent rain showers today.
Well, this is a song that's based from a poem from Rumi. You all know Rumi, right? Not the one you live with. You know, the one from the 12th century.
And he's a comic.
I'll be here all week. Well, we've come to the place where everything is music. Everything is music. I started it in the wrong key. And I'm not going to do that to you guys. Okay. I'm sorry.
It's all right. We could have switched.
You guys are cool, right? We're all good, all right? Well, we've come to the place where everything is music. More suited for singing along. Everything is music. Sing it with us. Everything is music. Well, we've come to the place where everything is music. Everything is music. Let it play. You want to put your hands together?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, why do you stay in jail when the door is wide open? Sing it with us. The door is wide open.
Come on, Cheryl.
The door is wide open. Tell me, why do you stay in jail when the door is wide open?
All right.
Let the beauty that you love be what you do. Stop talking now and open up the window. The one right there
in the house. I'm loving that. Thank you, Bob. Our opening song is typically grateful, so let's just move in that direction, shall we? Written by our own David Ault. Join as we sing together. I am grateful, yes, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we make, and I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears as you, yes. I am grateful, so grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we make, and I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. I am grateful, so grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we make, and I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. I am grateful, so grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we make, and I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. Yes, the love of God is here. Cheryl Chan.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. I'm David Ault, and I'm privileged to serve as senior minister here. We've got a lot of our core team who are out and about getting ready in line for Gay Pride. I don't know if you saw all of the excitement that David Aurelio has been expressing over the last weeks, but there's like this big carved head. It's made out of foam, and it's like the size of this room. And I'm thinking, it's raining. And so that foamed head is going to begin to expand and take over all of the... So I'm sure they're trying to manage the big head. The theme of the parade this year is State of Mind. And we thought, how perfect, us as a New Thought Center. And so we're doing a New Thought State of Mind. And so these people have been working so hard to not only create this big foamed head, but it's got all of these wonderful words about love and affirmation and inclusion. And so I'll be racing out of here after second service, thus the jeans, and having a wonderful time and representing SLC in a wonderful fashion. It's our third year to actually be in the parade, and we've watched over that time how the visibility of that has created a lot of goodwill amongst Atlanta. So you guys know Good Thoughts and see a beautiful umbrella over the float where no one gets wet. So thank you for being here. So that's where David Aurelio is, our executive director, and it's my privilege to give the announcements. I'm hoping that the way that I do them will be, as much and in a spectacular fashion as he. So as is the case, there's so many wonderful things that go on here, and fall is a wonderful time that just catapults all kinds of activity. So a few that I'm going to tell you about, but what I really want to do is draw your attention to this. This inside of your program has the listings of the things that are the most current. And so in that program, it shows you today that we have a Cancer Survivor Thriver group that is meeting, and that will be after the second service. We also got the John of God Crystal Bed coming October the 17th through the 20th. If you don't know who John of God is, you might want to Google that and see that it's a healing modality that you might be interested in, and you can sign up for that through our website. We also have Spark. Spark is the title of the conference that is being hosted by our young adults. I'm so excited that our young adults are taking the reign and creating things for themselves. I don't see them here today for first service, which is typical for young adults, but they will be here. Spark is a live event that is going to be happening on October the 18th. So we don't need to be a young adult to come, but they would love your support. The whole thing is going to be produced by young adults with speakers and musicians and all kinds of things that are geared towards this particular age group. And to to facilitate the thrivability of that. And so we're very excited, and you get to come and support them and be a part of that. Also, too, we have a wonderful new caregivers support group that is expanding. And here to tell you about that is Teresa. Teresa, come on up. Welcome, Teresa. He'll turn it on soon.
If not, I can speak louder.
There
we
you
go. Good morning, everybody. I'm Teresa Pelage, and I'm a geriatric social worker. My partner and I own a business that services seniors and disabled adults. And as I've become a member here, I realized that there was no caregiver support group, and that's something that I feel very strongly about and have done in my business and personal life. I am a long-distance caregiver myself for my mother, and I was for my father who passed away earlier this year. And I welcome you all to come to the group. It is the third Monday of every month at 7 o'clock. Whether your loved ones are here locally or from a distance, I encourage you to come because it's a very stressful time to be going through, and we want to give you all the support that we can. So thank you, and if you'd like to speak to me afterwards, I'll be in the back.
Cool. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. Circle of Love Gathering, which is a convention of New Thought speakers and musicians, is happening right in our own backyard in Atlanta all this coming week. There are flyers out here. You may not be aware, we are a part of a global organization, and for many, many decades, we had a summer conference in Monterey, California called Asilomar. Asilomar is no longer happening, and they are having regional conferences. And the great thing is that Atlanta is sort of this centralized hub, and so these amazing speakers are coming to Atlanta, and they will be here all next week. If you know where Simpsonwood is here in Atlanta, it's a wonderful conference ground, and it's going to have Dr. Ken Gordon, who is the spiritual director of Centers for Spiritual Living. It's also going to have Cynthia James, the beautiful, wonderful reverend that we're all in love with, including some wonderful musicians like Amy Steinberg and Gary Floyd and Lisa Ferrara and Etika Luckett. And so it's an incredible, incredible opportunity for you to go and meet like-minded individuals from around this area. They have wonderful day passes whereby you can look at the itinerary, go on and see who is speaking when and who is singing when, and you can sign up for that and get those day passes. And I'll be there probably much of Tuesday and Wednesday, so I invite you to come and join me. We have a great, exciting town hall meeting. Yes, an exciting town hall meeting that is going to be happening at the end of this month on Sunday, October the 26th. We're going to be able to give you some fabulous updates of where we are financially, as well as discuss with you our goals for 2015. And so we encourage you to come. We've got some surprises to share with you. And so we hope that you will mark that in your calendar and that you will come and stay with us after the second service on October the 26th. Last but not least, anniversary weekend. 35 years Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta has been in existence. And so anniversary weekend is November 7th through the 9th. November the 7th is going to be a never-before experienced concert, meaning that the choir and some special musicians are going to be doing all of the music that has become indicative of our community, and we are recording it. We are making a live CD. So the choir is singing, some special musicians are there. I think Penelope will be doing a fan dance. It's going to be fabulous. I don't know how that will translate on the CD, but it will be. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. So your presence is needed as well as your voice. And so things like Grateful and In This Place, these things are going to be archived and recorded for posterity. So you are welcome to come and be a part of that on that Friday night. And then Sunday, November the 9th, is Anniversary Sunday. We will be having breakfast, big breakfast in between services, and there will be a wonderful tent outside. And we just ask you to come and be a part of that exciting and wonderful anniversary. Are there any first-time visitors here? If you are brave enough to stand, are you brave enough to stand? We'd throw money at you and stuff. What you are receiving is a blank CD case, because we're cheap. No. What you do is you take this to the welcome table after service, And you can trade that in for a talk that is specifically picked for you as our gift and welcome today for being with us. I think that's it. Unless you have a cell phone, turn that off. I can't forget that announcement. And then stand with me with your programs as we read our declaration of principle together. I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe that all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. Ooh, our song this month, World of Abundance.
I am so grateful for this life I have to live. Oh, and I am so grateful for all I have to give. For I live in a world of abundance, in a true never-ending source from within. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with a life overflowing in a world we all win. I am so grateful, for I know my path is blessed by a love so full and graceful. I can trust in every step. For I live in a world of abundance, in a true never-ending source from within. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with a life overflowing in a world we all win. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, in a true never-ending source from within. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with a life overflowing in a world we all win.
Turn to those around you and say, good morning and welcome. Hi. So this is our opportunity to go within, and this is the contemplative time where we allow ourselves to be in this present moment. So you are invited. Look at how well trained you are. Everybody just immediately taking everything off of your lap. Perhaps even consider opening up your body language to receive that gift, the presence of the now. And this morning, our prayer is going to be led by Mary Jane Labonte.
Good morning. Today, Reverend Ault's talk is entitled, The Paradox of Pride. Since many of our congregation plan to attend and celebrate today in the annual Gay Pride Parade in Atlanta, I thought I would check out the meanings of the words paradox and pride. According to the meaning of paradox in Webster's dictionary, it is a statement that seems contradictory, unbelievable, or absurd, but that may actually be true in fact. Webster's meaning for pride is an over-high opinion of oneself, exaggerated self-esteem, conceit, or it can mean proper respect for oneself. I choose the latter meaning for pride. So we can go with paradox that is contradictory, unbelievable, or absurd, but that may actually be true in fact, and pride, proper respect for oneself. Taking pride in oneself can have a very positive connotation today. As we grow in the New Thought teaching, we learn that we are an individualization of the One, the divine intelligence, the source of everything good. We learn that everything that God is, we are. We don't believe that we are conceited. We have a realization of our oneness with the divine. If God is perfection, then we too are perfection. If God is love, then also we are love. We have all the attributes of the One. We call it oneness. Every one of us learn that we are one with the One. For those of us in this teaching, there is no reason to believe pride is conceit. It is just knowing the truth of who we are. We are proud to know that we are all children of God. Please join me now in an affirmative prayer. And let's take time to breathe. And I want to do a breath just a little differently. On your in-breath, say, God is. And on the out-breath, say, I am. And let's do that again. God is, I am. One more time. God is, I am. This is what I know for every one of us. As we are the individualization of the all-perfect God, we know that we embody perfection. We know we are one with the source of all creation. We know that all of God is good, therefore we are good. We can take absolute pride in knowing our perfection. We know that we are one with the divine intelligence. We know our truth, so we get to affirm and declare our perfection right here and right now. We allow our gratitude to brim over for us because we know who we are and where we came from. What a blessing to know our greatness. It is only right and just to expand our gratitude to the world regarding our perfection. It is all good because we know and affirm that it is all God. I release this truth of who we are to the universal law to continue to do its perfect work. And together we say, and so it is.
There is so much love. There is so much love. There is so much grace. There is so much grace. There is so much joy. So much joy in this place. In this place. There are open hearts. There are open hearts. There is peace on each face. Spirit's with us now. Spirit's with us now. In this place. In this place. In this place. So it is. Please welcome once again Bob Sima.
It's always nice to go from that to this. Good morning. I'm just honored to be back in the sacred space here. Thank you for having me back, and it's good to see you all. You look beautiful. What a day you have ahead of you. I borrowed that last song from Rumi. I heard that it doesn't matter where you borrow it from, it matters where you take it to. So, this one I borrowed from another mystical teacher, Dr. Seuss. And you laugh, but you know when he said the ones who mind, they won't matter, and the ones who matter, they won't mind. So this is all about the paradox of pride and and when you live yourself, your true self, then you're doing yourself a favor, but you're also doing everybody else a favor. Well, I bit my tongue into 1,000 pieces by now. Convince myself your heart can't take but I'm not willing to let out. 'Cause it'll be filled with disappointment, 'cause you'll have an air of discontent. And I know I'll never measure up to the fairy tale you dreamt. But as I change the words to you, well, what's that saying to me? I want to tell you who I am, exactly who I am, not who I think you want me to be. I want to speak from my heart, from the middle of my heart, let the words flow right out of me. 'Cause I miss the point with you, and I miss the point with me. Yeah, the ones who matter really don't mind, and the ones who mind, they really don't matter to me. Well, I bent my words into the craziest shapes I've ever seen. I've turned and churned myself through the low self-esteem machine. Well, I cut myself off and I cut myself down, rearranged my beautiful pieces to fit someone else's imaginary plan. And as I changed the words to you, well, what's that saying to me? I want to tell you who I am, exactly who I am, not who I think you want me to be. I want to show you who I am, everything I am, not a postcard I made of me. 'Cause I miss the point with you, and I miss the point with me. Yeah, the ones who matter really don't mind, and the ones who mind, they really don't matter to me. 'Cause I miss the point entirely. When I took the words from your head that you never even said, and I made it my truth, I laid my bed and I sang it as my revelry. Well, this is who I am right here and now, the realest real I can be. I'm gonna do my thing and be myself and set the both of us here free. 'Cause when I show you anything less than my beautiful mess, I lose my authenticity. And I miss the point with you, and I miss the point with me. 'Cause the ones who matter really don't mind, and the ones who mind, they really don't matter to me. We can sing that, can we? Yeah, the ones who matter really don't mind, and the ones who mind, they really don't matter to me. You guys are trained, you really are. Yeah, the ones who matter really don't mind, and the ones who mind, they really don't matter to me. Well, the ones who matter really don't mind, and the ones who mind, they really don't matter to me.
Oh, wow. Spectacular. Thank you. There's your yummy stuff. Yes. I think you have fans. And the ones who mind really don't matter to me. And so as we look at that and we own that and we find how healthy that is, we realize that everyone obviously is doing the best that they know how to do, given the awareness that they have, and that those who don't mind have come into a place of self-awareness enough that they no longer project their stuff on you, and we no longer project ourselves on someone else, but we live in this state of ownership and looking and self-love, and we get to, as you said in that song, become authentic and become real. I ran across this line in the book that we use for the Essential Ernest Holmes class, and it said this: love knows only love. Love knows only love. which I interpreted to mean that the experience of love, the energy of love, the essence of love can only recognize what? Love. That's it. It can't recognize anything less than that. So there's this beautiful equality that happens with that. We've often said that God is love. And so when you take that particular statement, then you could say then that God knows only God. And so when we look at and examine and uphold the sacredness of a relationship of our being to that which is God, then what we realize is that that which is God, the creation itself, the energy itself, that system of all life knows only us as God, as expressions of God. And I love that, because how many of us were told growing up in perhaps a different philosophical approach, how's that for being candid, or tactful, that we were not that we were born of sin, perhaps, that we were something less than, and that there was this scorecard keeping energy that went on, and we had to really watch our P's and Q's as we went through life. And so to realize that that's not going on, that the only lens that you are seeing through is the lens of love. Love knows only love, so God knows only God. So God knows only you as a vessel and an expression of love. Does that let you off of the hook? So there's nothing that you had done in the past, and there's no fumble that might happen in the future that will ever separate or evaporate that lens by which you are seen. And so then whose responsibility is it to get on board with that? Ours. And to understand that we are that regardless of anything that might have occurred in the past. So love knows only love. It reminded me years ago in Los Angeles, I went into this pizza place, and there was this designated wall in the restaurant where you could write on it. And people had climbed all the way to the ceiling, and so people's names and dates and little quips were all there, and little drawings and doodles. And I sat in this booth that was adjacent to that wall, and scrawled in the area where my booth was the words, these words, and it said, "God is love. Love is blind. Ray Charles is blind. Ray Charles is God." And I thought, right on, because it made perfect sense to me, that love is blind to anything unlike love. And so what are we here to aspire to? That kind of love. The kind of love that is blind to any other projections or falsities or accusations or wounds that we might be carrying, whether those wounds are self-inflicted or whether we appear or think that those wounds have been caused by others. Our job as light beings, our job as change agents, our job as self-aware individuals is to understand that love is always love, and it is blind to anything unlike that. So the idea, Mary Jane already just gave the sermon, so it's perfect. The paradox of pride, it shows us how fascinating our language is, and the definitions of language and the words like pride. Because we've often heard that pride cometh before the fall. If you're familiar with the book of Proverbs, there are so many references to the word pride in the book of Proverbs and how awful pride is, that it goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And so when we look at that particular definition of pride, it has its meanings in self-righteousness and in arrogance. That kind of pride is an essence or an energy of separatism. It's very stoic in nature. But let me tell you that kind of pride is not something that we are inherently born with. Everything is cultivated. Everything is cultivated. So this kind of self-righteousness or this arrogance is something that is cultivated. And how does anything become that way? Through observation, through the entrenchment of that energy on a regular, consistent basis. And so we realize that we learn things by our environment. We learn things repetitively. And so something that is as separate as that definition of pride is something that we have acquired or learned And what we know is that anything like that that has been learned can be unlearned if we are willing to do that. So I remember this memory came back to me as a child. It was very common in my religion to have vacation Bible school. Every summer there was a vacation Bible school. And if our church wasn't hosting a vacation Bible school, then somebody else's church was, and we always went to that. And I don't know how old I was, but there were traveling missionaries that year who were leading the vacation Bible school. And I remember the woman, the wife of this team, coming, and she was talking about the planets and the stars, and she threw out probably what was a rhetorical question, but I took it personally, and she said, how many stars? Does anyone know how many stars there are in the galaxy? And maybe I was 5 or 6, and my hand shot up. And I said the highest number that I could think of, like million, trillion, billion, or something like that. And she said, wrong. No one knows how many stars there are in the heavens. And when she said wrong, my hand just kind of did this, right? And I became very sort of not only mortified, but there was that reaction within me of being told that I was wrong. And I said something to the effect of this: well, I think you're as crazy as a Bessie bug. To this day, I'm still trying to figure out what a Bessie bug is, but it was something that I heard my mother say to people all the time. That woman is as crazy as a Bessie bug. If anything was derogatory or indifferent to what my mother believed. So when I told this missionary wife that she was as crazy as a Bessie bug, the superintendent was called in, and I was asked to apologize. Now, one would think that somebody, caught in the act like that, particularly as a child, would be very, very cooperative in apologizing. But here's the thing. Every single time that I apologized as a child, I was still beaten. So I referenced that if I apologize, now I'm going to be beaten in front of all of my peers, right? And so I wouldn't apologize. And I realized that the repercussions of that, somebody would interpret that as being a very prideful child, being a very arrogant child. But let me tell you that pride was stemmed in fear. That definition of pride was stemmed in the soil of fear. And I was doing whatever I could to avoid what I was familiar with. Now, jump forward to us as adults. And we realize that any adult who practices that kind of arrogance and that self-righteousness, what do you think the origin of that is? Fear. And what would that fear be? There's so many things that breed that particular kind of contempt for one another, that kind of separatism. And usually it has to do with, you can take something away from me. That my quality of life can be diminished by your actions or your words. That this experience, which is unknown to me, will make me look foolish. And so there's a self-preservation component that comes with that kind of definition of pride. That self-preservation is born from fear, and that fear is cultivated. Any fear is cultivated, right? And so we know that, because we've all practiced that. We've all told somebody they were as crazy as a Bessie bug. We've all said choice words to one another. John Maxwell, the great coach, said that there are two kinds of pride, both good and bad. Good pride represents our dignity and our self-respect. Bad pride, as he labels it, is the deadly sin of superiority that reeks of conceit and of arrogance. And so that kind of arrogance is cultivated. And so we know that already. So today, what's the other kind of pride? What's the other pride? When we look at that, we realize that that kind of pride has its roots in self-awareness, self-honoring. Self-honoring. To have pride in oneself means that you know who you are as a being of the I am. The I am is your God name. And whatever it is that you and I place behind those words, I am, be they conscious or unconscious, have a direct correlation to the way in which we view ourselves, the lens by which we define who we are. So if we can say, I am a part of that, which is God, I am the love that knows only love, then we have practiced and cultivated that particular level of pride, which brings us in alignment with our true nature. And that's the pride that we want to examine today. That's the pride that all of us have the opportunity to practice, which knows no end. So the cultivation of that kind of pride. It's the good kind of pride that pushes us to self-realization. What does that mean? Pushes us to self-realization. The more that we become in touch with our essence, our vulnerability, our talents, the more self-honoring we become, the more hungry we become. And the more hungry we become for more self-awareness, the more that we are willing to dance on that leading edge sensibility. We move and break free from this realm of conformity and comfortability. And we are willing to set aside looking foolish. We are willing to set aside being called names and being judged. And we are willing to step into the unknown and begin to craft something out of the mystery that is yet to be experienced. And anyone who has given themselves the ability and the opportunity to practice that knows that you will be called names, right? Knows that people who are operating from the other level of pride will do whatever it takes because they're threatened. They're threatened by that kind of light. I've often told my students, and we discuss this a lot, that the moment that your allegiance moves from your limitation to your beauty and to your awareness, the moment that those loyalties begin to shift, your circle of awareness changes and your circle of influence changes, meaning your circle of friends change. And for many, that's a very bittersweet experience because there's a mourning that happens because a lot of those people, you start to realize you have nothing in common with them anymore. And here's the trick. You can watch then your pride, the pride that dances on either side of the fence, because you can become prideful and boastful and self-righteous and think that you know more than them. Or your I am spirit can look at them and do what? Have compassion, because you go, I have also walked in that same energy. I have been who they are. And I can love them, and I can honor them, and I can respect their choices without having to make them wrong, because at the end of the day, my only responsibility and the only thing that I am here to police is my behavior and my consciousness. And so as we begin to look at that and to honor that level of self-respect, the I am that is us, then we get to look and embrace that particular level of pride. And here's a couple of things that help us in that. Because today, obviously, is Gay Pride, where we will be wearing the fact that we are spiritually fabulous. And knowing that we are spiritually fabulous can be a beautiful example of the I am. I am that. When's the last time that you said, I am spiritually fabulous? I am all that and a bag of chips. And mean it from a place that is sacred and holy. When was the last time that you were able to look at your own reflection and honestly and authentically say, I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for co-creating this journey with me. I honor every single step of every part of this journey. That is the cultivation of a pride that has its roots in self-respect. So there is ethnic pride, there is the pride of our country, there is the pride of family, there is the pride of accomplishment. And these are the things that are not looked as separatism, but are actually looked as championing. So for example, if you have pride in an accomplishment, then isn't it wonderful to be able to then champion and cheerlead another and say, if I can do it, so can you. That's a beautiful example of how pride works for everyone. It is an essence and an energy that is here for us. And so to develop more positive pride, and I say more positive pride because there's no cap to that. The I am presence knows no limitation. So for the rest of the hours that we breathe and walk on this planet, our job is to cultivate more of our I am presence and to have pride in that, to know our beingness. So number one for that is we must begin to create a space. Create a space for our expanding self. Ever been in a brand new relationship and you have two different locations and finally you're going to bite the bullet and drawers are going to be cleared out and things are going to be pushed aside in the closet, and so that the lover is making space for the beloved. The lover is making space for the beloved, which is a beautiful intention that says, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to clean out my drawers. I'm going to remove some of what defined me, and I'm going to allow this amalgamation of energy and heart to come together. Well, we have to do the same with ourselves. We have to be able to clear away, to declutter the things that have defined us from our fear and our wounds, and begin to make space, to create space for that which is the I am pride of us, that respects and honors who we are. What does that look like? A lot of times it means that we have to stop telling the story. A lot of times it means that we have to stop self-identifying with a particular incident in our life that we believe has created the foundation of who we are. As odd as that sounds, what I'm saying is that if you and I have overcome something, do you know what I mean by that? If your overcoming has appeared through the form of, let's say, a 12-step program, if your overcoming has been through rising above limited circumstances or physical abuse, if your overcoming has been through the restorative powers of health from a debilitating disease, if these things have overcome in your life, it's wonderful to share the overcoming and the energy of overcoming. But at what point, hear me, at what point do you move on? At what point do you create space for the yet to be? What I mean is, there are people who tell the story of their overcoming, and the overcoming happened a long time ago. And so when do we begin to understand the infinite nature of who we are and the fact that the overcoming of us is perpetual in nature? So I'm no longer defined by the breakup. I'm no longer defined by the diagnosis. I'm no longer defined by what the addiction was. I've learned the lesson, and now the new messaging that I want to deliver is this. And so there's a freshness to it. There's an expansiveness to it, to the I am nature, and I must create space for that. It's funny, when you've been in the experience and you're just getting to know someone and you sat down and the conversation starts about, well, here's my wound, and in the other, well, here's my wound, and then here's my wound, and then this is, oh, here's my wound. And so there's this thing that is shared through the past, where we have to express all of that. And the amazing thing is that you're not that. You're not that anymore. And it takes a beautiful level of discernment for another individual to see that you're not that. I think sometimes we feel like life is like Google. Once you've done something and it's been documented on the internet, then every time you type in something, that thing appears for the rest of time until something else is invented. Wouldn't it be scary if all of your foibles were like Google? And so people would just log in and there would be your discrepancies for all of the world to see. And we view ourselves like that. And by doing that, are you making space for whatever else is to happen? And so creating space for your expanded self means that you and I have an expectation that the world is expanding. Our world is expanding. Our consciousness is expanding. And so we allow that. We offer that. We stop giving meaning to the meaningless. We stop giving meaning to the meaningless, meaning our past at some point has no more meaning other than the meaning that we give it. And at what point do we allow our space to be that? This week I wrote this: do not let the stories of your overcomings become the all or nothing of your identity. Become disinterested in your pain. Become disinterested in your pain. Become disinterested in your pain, which then allows the space for your joy to come in. And the joy and the yet to be joy. The next thing in the cultivation of this healthy pride is the learning of discernment. Life is fluid. Please understand that life is fluid, that there is no finality to anything, that there is no one way to look at something, that perception is very individual. And whatever it is that you judge, whatever it is that you cast aspersions on, whatever it is that you love, comes from the lens of your perception. And when you can understand that, then you can realize that when you are experiencing something, you have the ability to use your discernment and just do and ask this one thing. Does this cultivate within my heart self-respect and love? And if it doesn't, do you have the capacity to not judge it and make it wrong, but to just leave it and allow it to be? There's something very spiritually mature about that. Learning discernment means that in order for something to be labeled right in my world, I don't have to label something wrong. That I can just have and understand preference and honor that preference. And there's something very beautiful about that, something very powerful, that in order for me to embrace something, I don't have to make another thing wrong. And I realize then that there is no separation. I begin to learn discernment about when to do something and when not to do something. There's this wonderful statement that says, don't just stand there, do something. Don't just stand there, do something. And so I'm a very big advocate for action. I think the way in which you learn these principles is through action. Is through going out and proving those principles. So action is a very, very amazing thing. Don't just stand there. Do something. Do something about your life. Do something to prove the principle. Do something to cultivate that sense of pride. And then, here's to show you that life is fluid and not cut and dry. There are those who get lost in action. There are those who take on the actions of other people in order to not do their own work. And to them, I say, don't just do something, stand there. Don't just do something mindlessly for the sake of doing something. Stand there. In other words, learn to be. So which statement is right? They're both right. They're both right due to or indicative of whatever the circumstances require. Life is fluid. So sometimes don't just stand there, do something. And sometimes don't just do something, stand there. Stand there and be and process. If something ignites anger in you, if somebody is as crazy as a Bessie bug, then stand there and be and go, what is that about? That has nothing to do with them. It's my perception of that thing. It's a fear that I have. If I apologize, I will be beaten. If I apologize, I will look weak. If I don't look perfect and live up to the expectations of other people, then what will they say? And so you start to realize that life is fluid, that everything is fluid, and that in that moment, instead of reacting, I get to learn how to respond. Respond comes, responsibility and respond have the same root. I learned responsibility means now that I know how to respond to the world responsibly. And the last thing is know who you are. Create a space for your expanding self, learn discernment, and then know who you are. Here's the wonderful thing about knowing who you are, and in case you don't know who you are a part of the I am. Love is love. Love knows only love. God knows only God. Who you are is an expression of God. But what does it take then to know that? And you know what the word know means, right? Within every fiber of your being, it is an infallible energy that cannot be erased or diminished. So when I know who I am, pride, the healthy pride also has this word humility about it. A person who knows who they are has learned how to cultivate, either consciously or unconsciously, a sense of humility. Meaning they realize that, okay, yes, I might have done this thing that you were applauding me for, but anybody can do that thing. Jesus the Christ was one of the greatest examples of humility. He said, yeah, I did some really cool stuff. That's, I forget what translation that is. I did some really, I could use crude language and make it even more funny, but I did some really awesome, and it was great. And guess what? So can you. So can you. Meaning that I am not here as the great exception. I am here as the great example. And as the great example, I get to remind you and show you that all things are possible. So that level of humility means that I can have pride in the I am nature. To have pride in the I am nature means that I can show up in any circumstance and not lose my sense of self. Not lose my sense of self. Not diminish my sense of self because of what you or someone else might think. But the pride in self, the ownership of knowing who I am, never wavers. And then that beautifully aligns with this humility. We saw it this week because the Nobel Peace Prize, one of it was awarded to Malala, who she's the youngest to ever win this prize. And if you saw her speech, she said, I don't really deserve this. I was just reacting or responding and living life from a place of deep conviction. And that's so beautiful to realize that she stood up for the education of young women. She stood in front of a gun and knew who she was. And then that young body, she exhibited the wisdom of the ages. And each of us has that. If she were here, she would say, all of you are capable for standing up for what you believe. All of you are capable of standing up for what you believe. But here's the thing. As you stand up for that, can you stop making other people wrong? There is the pride. There is the healthy pride that comes from knowing who you are, that comes from realizing it's not my responsibility to fix this or this or this. It is my responsibility to do what? To create space, to learn discernment, and to know who I am. To know who I am. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, he was giving a lecture many, many years ago in Beverly Hills, and he said this, our whole theory is that every person individualizes God. When he was talking about our whole theory, he was talking about this philosophy. Our whole philosophy is built around that every person individualizes God, meaning that you are the vessel of God. Every person in spirit is perfect. Jesus understood that. He said, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven. It was to your Father in your heaven, or the higher self, to which Jesus prayed. That which is the cosmic self, now manifesting as the individual self. The two selves are one. God is over all, in all, through all, and all in all. I am that I am. I am that thou art. I am that thou art. This is who you are. Thou art that which I am. They say it in various ways. So our basis for this teaching is perfect God, perfect man, perfect being. When we know who we are, when we accept that as our reality, then we have every right to say, I am proud of myself. I am proud of you because I know who the you is. And so it is. Thank you. So at this time, it is our opportunity. I invite you to take your programs where our affirmation for grateful giving is. This is our time to gather together. Let's see. Who do I want? Doris. You're always on the front row. Come on up. Ah! She's going, but I'm new. Will you? Hey, baby. Would you lead us in our grateful giving and just say what you're grateful for today?
Wow. I am so grateful to now be a part of this community. I'm new, but I'm old. My spirit has always been here, always. And I love this man and all of you. So let's just do it and give some money. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is.
Woo. I love that man too. So many teachings in one talk. As the songwriter, your mind is going in circles. But I had to stick with the Ray Charles part because that was just brilliant. But there probably will be a song about that, just so you know. But this song is called, this really is about the I am. This is the I am. It's called Put a Little More Love in the World. And I played with that for a while. It was going to be Put a Little More God in the World. I'm like, love. God is love. We could do that. And then I made it one word. Put a little more love in the world. If you see the T-shirts out there, it's all one word. So the next version of the shirt is going to put a little more Ray Charles in the world. That's what he's going to say. So, but this is the source. This is a song that was channeled directly from the great I am. It's the bluest of the sea, the whisper through the trees, the serenade that drops you to your knees. It's the sparkle of the smile, the honesty in the eye, the bravest bloom reaching for the winter sky. It's the racing of your heart, the sage behind the smart, the home inside the house where you were born. It's in the things we can't explain, things perceived but never seen. Everywhere, everything in between. It's taming the monsters under your bed, fighting the wolves up in your head. It's the strange things you do when you are led. It's on the tip of your tongue, the song that's longing to be sung. It's relentless, and it's only just begun. And it's calling out through you, using your heart to sing the truth. So put a little more love in the world. And if your heart is torn in two, what you give out returns to you. So put a little more love in the world. We gotta get you to sing it. Sing it after me. Repeat it after me, okay? Put a little more. 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 Put a little more love in the world. Put a little more. 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 Put a little more love in the world. And there's no place that it's not. And there's no time that it stops. There's a reason it takes your breath away. And the message is clear. It's the reason why we're here, to put a little more love in the world. If you're the only one to believe, and stand up and set it free, and put a little more, come on, stand on up, let's do it. Love in the world. And if you're standing brave and strong, or just barely hanging on, put a little more love in the world, yeah. Put a little more, 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 put a little more love in the world. Let's kick it up a notch. You can do it. Put a little more, 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 put a little more love in the world.
Love towards Bob and go and just jump on him. And he's got wonderful music. It's probably some of the most beautiful conscious music I've ever listened to. Ever. So let him know and show your appreciation to him. Thank him for coming out once again to Atlanta. Blessings. And if our practitioners will come and line up before you, these beautiful conscious beings. So excited. Here's what I want you to do. For those of you out there, I want you to look up at these faces. I want you to see if anyone resonates with you that you would feel drawn to go and just say, I want you to know a truth for me. I want you to know a sacred definition of pride for myself. And would you pray with me and know and affirm that with me, and make your way to one of these after the service today as we sing our closing song. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so
so grateful. So grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. So blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. We love you so much. Have a great weekend, everybody. Join us downtown for Atlanta Gay Pride.